By now, you are probably no stranger to mobile games. You may have read an article saying a mobile game generating millions of revenue for its company, or you might have played one yourself. In these past few years, I've seen many mobile games being released by PC/console publishers. While some mobile games released are met with generally positive reception, others have their own controversies even when they haven't been released.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out of season April Fool's joke?
Yet they still manage to make a ton of money. And now let's take a look at an upcoming mobile game by EA, and also it's the Battlefield franchise. A franchise that had its reputation ruined by the latest major entry. How does it look for Battlefield Mobile though? Will this game be the saving grace for the Battlefield series since the disastrous launch of Battlefield 2042? Well, judging from my experience with the alpha playtest twice, the game could really need a lot of time in the oven to meet the standards of other mobile games in its genre. Let's start off with the positive stuff first. One thing that you'll absolutely get from playing this game is the unique Battlefield experience itself. 16 versus 16 players on a relatively large map with heavy vehicles and artillery playing for objectives to win. Spawn on your base, capture objectives, kill enemies, heal, resupply, all the good stuff you know and love from the Battlefield games. This might sound ignorant of me, but I don't think there are any other games with this formula already in mobile. That, however, is unfortunately the only part of the game that I can say is 100% positive, as other aspects of the game have some sort of flaws in them. Speaking of flaws, let's talk about graphics. Now, I've played quite a few mobile games, and I could say that the majority of the games that I do play have their graphics on the level of the PS3 era. Some of these games make up for the lack of graphical fidelity through unique art direction. So, how about Battlefield Mobile? Well, it's kinda bad actually. Because while there are a lot of details being put into the map design that you can sometimes interact with, like map destruction using tanks and RPGs, however, the overall quality is not up there. A lot of the stuff like the ground, walls, and the debris looks like pixelated JPEG. It feels like if someone tried to make a knockoff Battlefield game with PS2 graphics on the mobile phone. The assets that are used in the game are somewhat decent, like the gun models and the vehicle models look decent, but I just feel like it needs a bit more touch, like anti-aliasing, overall texture quality upgrade to make it seem more realistic. But how about the gameplay? Well, as any other FPS games, you aim and shoot, nothing fancy. But what I do notice during my gameplay is just how janky the controls and the animations are. I can feel like a few milliseconds delay for the controls that made it feel unresponsive at times. And also, seeing the animations for the player models is just plain funny. Like, you'll know for sure if you're fighting a bot or against actual players by the way their player models move. It's very awkward. The game also lacks the oomph effect that you get from getting kills and taking objectives that made playing these games satisfying in the first place. In fact, the game overall feels very hollow without the sound effects and the announcer you see and hear in every other Battlefield games that made it a chaotic but fun experience.
Capture and hold as many objectives as you can. We have lost our first soldier.
Customization and progressions are aspects that gets a few points from me. Each time you complete a mission, you'll get points that you can spend to unlock attachments and perks for your guns, well, and unlocking the gun itself. And also, leveling up your guns grants you more slots for said attachments. I think this is quite a good customization system as it gave you a freedom to make a custom gun that suits a certain playstyle that you like. My only complaints, however, is, well, the lack of gun options available to you. I guess it's kind of a given that it is still in alpha stages of development. Also, none of the gameplay mechanics are locked behind paywalls. As far as my experience, all the guns and attachments are unlockable via in-game currency you get from playing the game. And other functionalities like specialist/operator gadgets you unlock as you level up your account. But sometimes you need to complete a certain number of missions if you want to get up a gun, as the currency required for the customizations can get quite high as you level up. At this point, you may say that I've been a bit harsh on the judgment for this alpha playtest, and things would certainly be better as development time goes by and the game finally releases. Well, at first I also thought about it like that, at least in the first alpha playtest back in late 2021. The problem is, when I played the second playtest back in June this year, things doesn't look good. Even after 6 months of development, a lot of the complaints that players have still persist, like the potato graphics and janky physics. But guess what? We finally have a proper in-game lobby screen, and now you can play around with more guns, maps, and modes. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but it feels like they're just adding more stuff in an already unpolished product, rather than trying to fix the underlying basic issues the game has. This lack of improvement may be correlated to Battlefield 2042 and how EA probably had to scramble many Battlefield dev resources to fix this new installment of Battlefield on PC/console, thus making the Battlefield mobile project taking the back seat. In conclusion, my experience playing the Battlefield mobile playtest was quite a letdown. Don't get me wrong, it was still fun, but it's held back by the lack of polish the game had, and it ruined any kind of immersion I would have had. I really hope Battlefield Mobile gets the care it needs for its eventual release, and I still want to be positive that I would be proven wrong when the time comes. But as of now, that's just wishful thinking.